I think after that last panel, it's particularly fitting that we introduce a speaker who has an impressive narrative to present about the nexus between sustainability and economic growth and innovation. I'm very excited, actually proud, to welcome the Honorable R.X. Parris, Mayor of the City of Lancaster. Mayor Parris's aggressive stance regarding the overall well-being of Lancaster residents generated dramatic results and nationwide recognition. Crime plummeted nearly 40% within 5 years. Wellness and neighborhood impact homes combat socioeconomic challenges. Lancaster's transformed downtown is a massive cultural epicenter. If you've ever gone down there, it's beautiful. And Lancaster is now a global leader in alternative energy. Following a trip in 2010 to visit Chinese manufacturer BYD's Solar Village in Shenzhen, China, the mayor has aggressively pursued a number of innovative public-private partnerships to expand the city's renewable energy capacity and spur economic growth. The city developed a partnership with KB Homes and BYD to build an affordable solar-powered development of homes. The Solar Lancaster program was launched as a partnership between Lancaster and Solar City to provide affordable leases for solar installations on homes and businesses. In 2013, Mayor Parris and the City Council adopted a residential zoning ordinance that included a 1 kilowatt minimum per unit solar energy requirement for all new single-family homes, which became effective in January of this year. It's the first city to do that in the entire nation. Mayor Parris has interesting stories to tell related to the panel discussion you just heard about how public and private sectors can partner to make our cities more sustainable while spurring economic growth and attracting and creating new jobs. As of the end of 2013, Lancaster boasted the 5th greatest solar energy generation capacity of all California cities. When you look at it in terms of energy per capita, they were #1, which is amazing. And they continue to pursue an objective to become one of the world's first net zero cities. The cities, and I will say in terms of overall megawatts installed, out of the 100,000 customers that Solar City has, Lancaster is second in our book only to Walmart in terms of total megawatts installed. And this is an amazing achievement. The city's business partnerships in pursuit of its renewable energy goals have provided economic benefits as well, as BYD recently located not 1 but 2 new manufacturing facilities in Lancaster, a battery manufacturing plant and an electric bus manufacturing plant. As I was driving over this morning from my home in Echo Park, I thought, you know, I'm always excited about coming to this summit, but today I was really, you know, pumped about it because, you know, to introduce somebody like Mayor Parris, who really walks the talk and does everything right, you know, for me, he's basically the John Wayne of environmental impact. So it's now my pleasure to introduce Mayor R.X. Parris.
First thing I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about why we're doing this. You know, Lancaster, I don't know if you know, is a very conservative area, extremely conservative. And I'm a Republican. Is there any other Republican here? And so it wasn't an easy sell, but I'd like to tell you why we are doing it. Those are my grandchildren. That is Ethan and Izzy. And when they're in the room with me, life is wonderful. And imagine the life they could have. You know, the history of this world was written by those countries that had access to energy. England, surface coal. That's why England dominated the world. The United States, we had surface oil. Remember the Beverly Hillbillies when it just bubbled up out of the number of people laughing tells me the age dynamics in the room. It's the availability of energy. And for the first time in the history of the world, we have the available energy that could be given to everyone. Everyone. What kind of world could we create? The potential is beyond belief. And now the bad news. People have a hard time with this concept of climate change and global warming. And I suspect it's because they can't see it. Nobody can see it. You know, if the scientists told us, 97% of the world's astrophysicists told us, and astronomers told us, which are the numbers that are telling us about global warming, if they told us that meteor was headed towards us, and it's way, way out there, and only they can see it, but 50, 100 years, we will cease to exist as we know it. Everything we have will cease, and we may or may not survive. If we learned that today, the world would gather and they would put all of their energies into knocking that asteroid off course, because we could see it. You know, not too long ago, a few years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. And when I got that diagnosis, how I got it was the doctor told me somebody he did not know saw some cells on a microscope. I never saw it. The doctor never saw it. But just the knowledge that somebody saw it, everything changed. My wife and I went on this search to find out who was doing the various things. I learned that I could burn part of my body out, I could cut part of my body out, or I could poison it. Those were my choices, and I chose one based upon just because somebody else saw it. The fact that we can't see this is killing us. Oh, I'm fine now, by the way. And then we have morons like this. The problem with this is that there are some extremely bright people that I know, that I'm friends with. One of them is the highest ranking elected Republican official in the state of California. No, you don't know who he is because there's not many of them. And he believes this. And so I'm asking him, I'm saying, but all these scientists are telling you something different. And you are a leader. Don't you owe it to those people you're leading to know for certain, to educate yourself as to how this happens? But I guarantee you in this room, very few people understand how heat is generated, how it gets here to the earth. You know, I mean, think about it for a second. You want to insulate a room? Just put one piece of glass, a vacuum, and another piece of glass. It's very expensive because it breaks. But perfect insulation, because heat will not convect in a vacuum. What's between us and the sun? A vacuum. We do not understand how heat works. So of course heat is what we do. We just grab onto a belief. And that's the answer, because we don't understand it ourselves. This is the thing that frightens me the most. With Republicans, 2006, 31% thought climate change was caused by men. 66% right now of Republicans think there is climate change. But back then, 31% thought it was man-made. Today, it's 24%. 54 to 53 on independence. The Dems went up, but not much, 9 points. I think a lot of it is because of how we're phrasing it. You know, why aren't we saying it what it is? It's caused by industrial waste. You know, cognitively, it's easier to put your arms around rather than calling it man-made. And the reason I point that out is this, we'll go into this a little bit more, is we have not spent enough energy on figuring out how people different than us think. You know, we don't, I'm a trial lawyer, and I do class actions for those corporations out here. You know, you can throw a tomato in a second. But what I tell people when I teach them about it is if the jury's Russian, speak Russian for heaven's sakes. You know, they don't understand English. We've made a terrible mistake in not recognizing this country is segmented and we need different language. But this is the number that really scares me. These are college-educated people. 28% of the Republican college-educated people think global warming is man-made. 86% of the Democrats do. Do you really think there's that wide of a gulf? I mean, I always tell people 10 points on the IQ scale is a wide gulf. But we're talking college-educated people now. Do you see what's happened to us? It's become a belief system. It's become a religious issue. It has become a political issue. And the analysis stops. If you're a Republican, you don't believe it. If you're a Democrat, you do. And that would be amusing, except we will not survive if that continues. Great book, Dan Ariely out of Duke University. It's predictably irrational. If you go onto Coursera.org, you can actually take the course on it, which I really recommend. But he talks about why people aren't putting their arms around what's happening to us. One of the reasons is we don't see the consequences. You know, it's pretty well, the UN has pretty well confirmed what happened with the Arab Spring was global warming. You know, the people were forced off the farms into the cities. It was a fragile government to begin with. The size of the cities, the population tripled. They couldn't sustain it. But we don't see it, and decision makers don't see it. That particular picture, the photographer who took it, and that is a vulture ready to eat that child, make no mistake about it, got back in his Range Rover and left. And he killed himself 2 years later. When the enormity of what he did, he just couldn't bear it. And he had no explanation as to why he just left. If that child was white, we would be a little more concerned about global warming. Let's be honest about it. It happens to other people. Affects others first, same type of thing. You know, that's not a science fiction picture up there. That is New York during Hurricane Sandy. It is happening now, and it is happening to us. Hurricane Sandy was a level 1 hurricane. Imagine a level 5. Imagine. It's unimaginable. It's a slow progression. You know, I still think I'm the young Rex. When I think of myself, I don't have white hair. I'm shocked every day when I look in the mirror. You know? It's a slow progression. I put as much information about climate change on my Facebook page as I can. And my constituents, who, you know, I know what I poll. I poll about 76% positive. They love me, but they don't love this. They don't love my views of climate change. It's a religious thing. It really is. It has become a religious thing. And that's not their fault. That's our fault. I asked my pastor about it. I said, why is it the churches are not embracing the idea that we should save the world? And he said, the people who really understand it look at us with such disdain that we've now become polarized. It's not because of any religious belief they hold. It's because of the warring camps that have been created. And the intellectuals of this country have better understand that we do not have the luxury of that anymore. We have got to start talking to people so they can understand this. The consequences are just too great. And the view is we can't do anything about it. Well, look at Lancaster. Lancaster had every reason not to do it. When I was elected, we had the highest crime rate in LA County, the highest gang violence in LA County. We now have one of the lowest. And it was draconian. You probably read about it. You know, they wanted to hang me in the village square of Los Angeles. And I could understand why they did. But that is what's given me the political capital to deal with the global warming issue. The global warming issue to me is a public safety issue. That's all it is. It's a public safety issue. And we have this idea it's far in the future. Not as far as we think. In our lifetime, not Ethan and Izzy's lifetime, the number of people that will die in Bangladesh will be measured in the tens of millions. And make no mistake, that is going to happen. You know, the Holocaust did not happen because people couldn't get out of Germany and of the occupied countries. It happened because they could not get in to the other countries. The only country that took the Jewish population that was trying to immigrate was China, interestingly enough. They took over 46,000 people, and it's an amazing story. Imagine, though, hundreds of millions of people trying to move, trying to immigrate. I mean, look what we do with Mexico. You know, I mean, it's way out of proportion to any problem it might actually be. Bangladesh is on an alluvial plain. There isn't any question that country is, for all intents and purposes, going to cease to exist in our lifetime. So what did India do? They built the world's longest fence in history. Make no mistake what's coming at us. In Lancaster, one great thing about Lancaster is we have better sun than you. We won the lottery on sun. We are literally the center of the universe when it comes to solar energy. The sun shines there perfectly, altitude, longitude, air quality. And why are we so much different than that circle in the center there? We got transmission. You know, you can produce all the electricity you want, but if you can't transmit it, it's worthless. Because of the wind power we had been generating in Tehachapi, we have the transmission lines. And we will soon be powering you. First thing that came to Lancaster was Solar City. Bill Gross at Idea Lab in Pasadena figured out a way to make small mirrors focus on those towers. And he was able to produce electricity for about 10 cents a kilowatt. A year later, the price of PV dropped, and he was essentially out of business because it was no longer cost effective. This is a volatile industry. But the story with Lancaster in that, from the day he thought that idea up to the day we turned the switch on, 18 months. We removed all the obstacles. Now, interestingly enough, eSolar is going to open a new plant where they can store the energy overnight. That is groundbreaking, world news, because now alternative energy is storable, and they do it with molten salts. Right now, Lancaster, 96% of our municipal buildings is solar, meaning all the electricity we use is replaced. 51% of the city's peak demand, and 100% in 3 years. We will be the first net zero city.
This small city is California's biggest energy boomtown, Lancaster, in California's Mojave Desert. It averages about 300 days per year of the most intense sunlight in the country.
We intend to figure out a way to use it the most efficiently than anywhere in the world.
3 years ago, Mayor R. Rex Parris set a net zero power goal to harness the energy from the sun and become 100% power independent. Today, the city is halfway there and produces the most solar power per resident in the state.
We would be the deepest well if you were to imagine that was oil. And what's oil but power? And what is solar but power?
How hard has it been to get people on board with solar energy?
The city has just embraced it.
Solar panels are just about everywhere, on downtown rooftops, at schools. Even the baseball stadium can power itself almost entirely by the sun.
They produce about 97% of the energy that's used in those facilities.
Jason Cottle is the deputy city manager and oversaw the installation of more than 6,000 panels in city buildings. The city leases them from a private company.
We paid 10 cents a kilowatt hour.
Okay.
We were getting charged from the utility companies about 18 cents a kilowatt hour. So we saved the difference.
It's made a big difference to the city's budget, saving more than $250,000 each year in energy costs. The mayor plans to save even more.
We will be net zero within the next 3 years, and the goal is eventually this city becomes independent of the grid.
And next year, this city takes another step closer toward its net zero goal, with a new law requiring solar panel installation in every single new home. Brandon Scott, CBS News.
The partnerships that we can create and the things we can develop when government puts businesses together and removes obstacles. We put a Chinese company with the biggest home builder in America, and I asked them, produce a net zero house that's affordable. We're all in that Westwood building. I've never been in one of those corporate offices before. And can't be done, can't be done. I said, well, just try. What can I do to help you? Well, get rid of the permit fees. Okay, we can do that. But then the biggest thing was, how long will it take to get permitted? I said, how long do you want it to take? 4 months later, we turned the switch on that house. 2 years later, they're now selling those houses. And it's not only affordable, you can buy a bigger house if you take this option. It uses 30% of the water. It uses almost no gas. It's absolutely incredible, the exponential, innovative energy that occurs when you start solving problems. That's the difference in prices. We're going to produce more buses than any place in the world soon, because that is the most magnificent bus the world has ever seen. Community choice aggregates will be online in about 6 months, right? We will buy and sell power to our citizens, and we'll be able to buy it at 6 cents a kilowatt, which is much cheaper than Edison is selling it. Once you start this process of solving something like this, it just keeps growing and growing. We wanted to get the streetlights away from Edison. We wanted to buy them. Wouldn't let us do it. Finally, they did. Now they're helping us do that. We'll be able to operate them at probably 1/8 the cost. But more importantly, it's not just LED streetlights. Do you realize that's a portal? In front of almost every house, you can have Wi-Fi generated from it. If you want to turn on cameras in certain crime areas, you can. Some people like it, some people don't, but it is our job to protect the people of the city. We can put telecommunications on it. We can turn those lights off if there's a police operation. We can put emergency exits if there's a catastrophe of some kind. As Pat Morrison said, we could even turn them off when there's a solar eclipse of some kind that people would like to watch. It gives us incredible control. But we don't have a Bureau of Streetlights, meaning the bureaucracy has to change. And Obama can do a lot of things, but I issue building permits. I've been here about 25 minutes. I was supposed to be 20. It's 25 minutes closer. And we are out of time. Thank you.